So as of writing this video, E3 is pretty much wrapped up. There's a few things that I want to talk about that happened over the past few days, but in this video I want to start with Microsoft's press conference, and more specifically the Xbox One X. And I gotta admit, when I was seeing it unveiled, I was actually really impressed. I don't really know about all of the technology behind it, but hey, the more teraflops the better, I guess. Anything that can run games at a 4K resolution and still remain at 60 frames per second is pretty impressive to me, especially on a console. So the one underlying issue I have with the X isn't with its specs or design or anything. I think that on the surface, it's a really appealing buy. Watching games like Anthem, which I talked about in my last video, and imagining playing them with these resolutions and frame rates in my room was something that sounded awesome for me. But after that, the Xbox One X becomes less and less appealing to me, because it's really just not a worthwhile purchase. And that's its biggest problem, the price. And yes, I can see you typing in the comments now about how I'm an idiot, but just hear me out. I'm not stupid, so I know that the Xbox One X should be the price that it's at. I'm assuming that for its specs, it's probably pretty cheap when comparing it to an equivalent PC, but even with that being said, I don't see the value for buying one. I only see the appeal. In my opinion, there are three types of gamers, and to illustrate my point, I'm going to come up with scenarios for all of them. You have Ethan, Timbo, and Bubsy. Now, Ethan is still playing Madden on his Xbox 360. He likes video games but doesn't play or follow them all that often, but he's looking to upgrade to a new console sometime soon. Timbo bought an Xbox One for $400 of 4 months after it came out. He plays video games quite a bit, but he doesn't play all day every day. He also doesn't have a 4K monitor, but he watched Microsoft's conference and was impressed with what he saw. And then you have Bubsy. Now, Bubsy loves Xbox. He bought the Xbox One with the Kinect for $500 on day one. He likes to think of Phil Spencer as his cool dad, and he was at E3 and watched the conference live in person. Now, is this scenario kind of stereotyped? Sure, but I think it covers a vast majority of consumers. Casual, typical, and hardcore. But being truthfully honest, I don't see a reason for any of these people to buy an Xbox One X. Let's start with Ethan, because he's the easiest. Ethan isn't going to play video games as much as Timbo or Bubsy, but he's looking to upgrade. He heads to the store and sees an Xbox that costs $250, and another that costs $500. Oh, my bad. $499. And which one is he going to buy? The cheaper one, the Slim. Not only may he not know, care, or understand exactly what the difference is between the two consoles, but he's someone that's not going to use it every single day, and he probably doesn't have a 4K TV to fully utilize its features. And even if he did know what the difference was and he had a 4K TV, he still would most likely go with the S, because unless he's just rich, he wouldn't spend that much money on something that he's not going to use that often. But then again, I doubt Ethan is Microsoft's target audience for this product. Moving on to Timbo, as I awkwardly speak about myself in the third person, he was impressed with what he saw, but overall the purchase just isn't really validated. He bought the Xbox One when it came out and doesn't want to spend another $500 right now. He likes video games and plays them quite a bit, but the jump only looks like a premium to him. And the same thing really goes for Bubsy. Put yourself in either one of these two people's shoes, and think about the money that Microsoft is asking them to spend. If you're Bubsy, Xbox had you buy a $500 Xbox because of Kinect, a product that they don't even support anymore, and then just a few years later they want you to spend another $500? And that's not even to mention buying a 4K monitor. You know, I don't care if the Xbox doesn't need a 4K monitor to make games look nicer. If you're gonna buy something that expensive for the luxury, just to not take advantage of its full capabilities, then why are you buying it? Also think of it this way, what even is the Xbox One X? Is it supposed to be a step up like the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One? Or is it just supposed to be another Xbox in this console generation? Because even if you already had a 4K monitor, you've already spent $1,000 in 4 years minimum without any games yet to just stay up to date with these things. And who's to say in another 3 years or so comes the Xbox 2 with the PS5? If Sony and Microsoft want those consoles to feel different than the X and the Pro, then they need to make them even more powerful. If they keep them mostly the same, then people are just going to buy the Pro in 2020 when the price drops, because it's practically the same as the PS5. And if Sony makes the PS5 super powerful compared to the Pro, then it's just going to start costing a fortune like a high-end PC would. Because with more power comes more cost. And who knows, maybe this is just how Sony and Microsoft plan on releasing their consoles from here on out. Instead of coming out with a super upgraded version every 5 years or so, they keep making updates for the ones they have, still supporting the older games opposed to leaving them behind. And I don't know what they're planning on doing. It seems like consoles are becoming more and more like PCs these days, getting more and more complicated for consumers and developers every time the new one comes out. But getting back to Timbo and Bubsy, unless they want to spend the amount of money for all these consoles, there's no reason to buy an Xbox One X. For anyone, really. Microsoft, like Sony with the Pro, doesn't treat them like they're totally new. They don't take the old consoles off the shelves and push the new one, which is honestly a good thing for us, but for them it means less people will probably go out and feel obligated to get the upgraded versions. There really is one reason only why someone like Bubsy will buy the Xbox One X. Because they want the new shiny. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with this if you're Microsoft, because there's certainly going to be a lot of people who will buy the X just for this fact. Other companies do this all the time, because for everyone, if there's a new, better version of the thing you have, you'll want it, even if you know it's not really worth it. I mean, look at Apple with their smartphones and laptops. They sell you a computer that's over $1,000, and it doesn't even have a USB port on it. But despite there being tons of other laptops with better specs, more ports, for a smaller price, will people still buy the MacBook? Yes, because there's a piece of fruit on the front. So this video isn't for Microsoft, they know what they're doing. This video is made for consumers. I don't care if you go out and buy the Xbox One X. If you see the value in it and don't mind spending for that kind of premium, go right ahead. I'm sure the games will look absolutely amazing. But I think that people should look at just how much money they could potentially be spending over a short period of time, and if that's really worth it for them. I didn't touch on this earlier, so I'm going to shoehorn it in at the end here, but you also have to look at the games, which ones you're playing, and if they're utilizing the Xbox One X's features fully. Sure, Minecraft and all these indie games they showed off might be able to run at 4K, but why? My TI Inspire can run Minecraft, no need to spend $500 for that. If I were to buy an Xbox One X, I'd do it to play those big games. You know, like The Last of Us Part 2, Days Gone, God of War, Spider-Man, Death Stranding, Detroit Become Human, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Oh wait, those games are all on PlayStation. And I don't want to sound like a pony or something. Okay, I've owned both an Xbox and a PlayStation in my time, so I'm not even trying to be biased. But PlayStation just has better exclusives. They might not have the better console anymore, but they give you a reason to buy it. The games that you can't get anywhere else. Microsoft may have 42, 22, whatever that frickin' number is of exclusives, okay? But they don't have all of those independent studios like Sony does. And that's just a fact. The biggest game that Xbox showed off, Anthem, I can play that on my PS4. Microsoft may show off a ton of indie games whose equivalents you can find for free on the PlayStation Store, but are there bigger games, Crackdown 3, Metro, Forza, and Sea of Thieves, really worth $500? Are they really more impressive than the games that Sony shows off? Well, I guess that's up to you. But that's all I got, guys. Leave your thoughts on the Xbox One X down in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, check out the cards in the top right corner for more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.